Sonic Frontiers, the parry is really broken. Most everyone knows that at this point. I mean, you can literally hold it indefinitely. It's wild. And so, with it being so unnervingly broken, a lot of people have been proposing their fixes to make it better. And honestly, most of these solutions typically just boil down to make it harder to time it right. And while that is a solution, and it definitely can work, I think Spark the Electric Jester 2 did this exceptionally well, I honestly don't think it's the best solution in this case. I think that there is a solution that's already been done by a game 10 years ago at this point that fixes all the issues that I have with this parry. That game being Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Also, sorry for the montage. I recorded this footage a little bit ago and I was bored, so I decided to go ahead and edit it. So, in this game, the way that the parry works is that if there's an enemy in front of you, then you're going to repeatedly spam the left stick towards whatever enemy. If it's in front of you, then you'd be pressing up. So you'd be continuously spamming that while spamming the light attack button, aka X, on an Xbox controller. And it looks like this. Now, in all honesty, this isn't really that crazy of a thing. Like, it works fine, and I think it's very, very good and absolutely knocks it out the park. But still, it isn't the craziest thing ever. But I'm going to tell you right now, I think that the way this parry functions fits Sonic Team's vision like a glove. It is exactly what they're looking for, and I think it fixes all the issues that they had with their original parry that was in the game, where you had to actually time it right. So the reason that the parry turned out like it did now is due to the fact that playtesters said that, oh, it was too hard to time, so they just said, screw it, we'll just make it way too long. And I understand that mindset. Playtesters gave them feedback, and so they just changed it. I think they went really overboard, but, I still understand why they're doing that, and it makes sense. They're in the mindset of it needs to be easy to perform. And that's what I think this parry does really well. It's not hard to perform. I mean, it's a little tricky to repeatedly spam a control stick. I'm not used to doing that. But it ain't that hard. Like, once you learn it, it's like riding a bike. It's easy like that. The hardest part is spotting the enemies that are going to attack you. So it functions fine, and it's not hard to do. That's a key point. So from what I'm describing, it sounds like these two things are the same, because I'm saying that they're both guards that you hold that can pretty much be done indefinitely while you wait for an enemy to attack you. Yeah, it sounds like they're both the same thing, just one's a more complex way of doing that. And while, yeah, that's a surface level way to look at it, and truthfully, they are very similar. You kind of can hold that guard for a good long while, but it's a little different, and I want to discuss that because this is what makes it truly good. It's the simple fact that in Rising, you actually miss out on attacks, because you could get a couple extra hits in before you start your guard. Now, yes, that logic also applies to Frontiers, but give me a second, I'll explain why it kind of doesn't. So, you could get a couple extra hits in, right? Well, in Frontiers, it kind of is the same way, but the issue is that all of the attacks, well, they take a long time. And so, you would just hold the parry for 5 seconds because you already know that any one of these flashy attacks is going to take you 6. So you're going to get hit no matter what. That's the difference, is simply that attack speed. And while, yes, it's technically an irrelevant metric, I think the fact that the timing for attacks is a lot more synced up with the gameplay, if you will, in Metal Gear, I think that adds a lot. Because truthfully, Frontiers having these long, over-exaggerated attacks are cool, but it can make it difficult because it promotes you just sitting in the air waiting for an enemy to attack. it promotes you doing that. It actively encourages that kind of gameplay only because the attacks take so flippin' long. But in Metal Gear, it's kind of the other way around. You're trying to get as many hits in as you can. You're more willing to play it risky because you have a better knowledge of how the attacks work, because it's not like you have to count frames to see how long an animation lasts. You just know that when you press X, you're gonna attack an enemy. It's not a concern of how long this attack will last, or am I gonna get hit or not. I mean, yeah, but it's definitely a concern. You don't want to get hit, but it's not constantly every second I'm concerned of how long an attack animation is. And that's pretty much it about the actual parry itself, but I do want to discuss one extra thing. So, if you parry an enemy in Metal Gear, you truly knock them back, like you stun them, right? But you don't really get an attack prompt. You know, they're vulnerable, so you can get more hits in. Well, in Frontiers, of course, you get the Y plus B, and you get to flippin' crush enemies' health. It's wild. Remove this. I love this attack, man. It's really cool, but just remove it. Just remove it from being a reward for a parry, because it's not a reward. It's just a guarantee. And I think that also is just a problem. It's just a problem because you're overly rewarded for doing something so easy. You just get way too much benefit for getting something that is literally almost guaranteed. There is no risk or reward. It's just given to you on a silver platter. You just gotta take it, and that's it. Make it where enemies actually get stunned like every other game ever, because it works. That's why they all do it, because it's a great way of letting the player do the cool stuff. Because why would I go out of my way to try to make these cool attacks, stringing together combos in Frontiers, if I could just press 2 buttons and then kill the enemy almost instantaneously? You don't get anything for going out of your way to actually master the game, which is really sad that it's been set up that way. And so, with all of that said, I do hope you enjoyed this video, and have a great rest of your day. Goodbye!